What's up, you friggin' jacked Panthers? Today we're working on the Bulgarian Split Squat, the strength version of that. Now the strength version we do so that we work on developing our single leg strength. We also get an extraordinary metabolic demand, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But let's talk about how to set it up. I prefer that you use a barbell in the rig at a height that's just below your knee, and you just throw a hollowed out foam roller on there. That's just because the back ankle there can be in a neutral position the whole time, all right? But also because height-wise, you get perfect control over it. You can just go down an inch or two, and that's no problem. You can use a bench or a box or whatever, but you want to make sure that it tries to meet that below the knee angle. And also, typically people get a lot of cramping in their foot when they use those benches or boxes, so that's why I prefer this one over that. So that's the setup. Here's what needs to be managed the whole time. The first thing I'll talk about is the angle of the torso. The angle of the torso should be consistent with the back leg, all right? So that means a straight line from that knee, that rear knee, to the shoulder is maintained no matter where you're at in the movement. So you notice a slight hinge happening there, all right? That needs to be maintained throughout the whole range of motion for the strength version of this movement, all right? Next, you guys need to be thinking about the angle of the knee needs to be the same on both sides. So right to left, if you guys don't pay attention to where your foot goes, that knee angle might be different. So I like to think about where is my knee tracking in regards to my foot. So if I'm looking, you can barely see this, but basically if I'm looking from this left leg forward position, my knee might go, as I'm coming down, it goes just over my pinky toe, all right, but not further, and it doesn't go like over the midfoot, all right? Whereas if I switch sides and then have a different foot placement, I might see a more vertical shin now. So now I have a completely vertical shin on that side, which means I'm going to be prioritizing muscle use differently on each side, which is going to exacerbate or make worse or even create imbalances in my legs. So really make sure that the position of the foot is the same on both sides, and then the position of the knee that it goes into is equal on both sides as well. Next position we look at, or next thing we want to look at, is the knee and the ankle itself. As I'm going down into that bottom position, I don't want to see the knee cave in towards the midline. I want to see it stay out kind of over that pinky toe in that trajectory anyway, staying out. So we also look at like good runners and good athletes. We create this bowing shape. We want to maintain that on the way down. All right, so the knee should be kind of coming out and stable in that position. It shouldn't be like balancing all over the place, right? Then looking further downstream, we want to see kind of the same thing out of our foot. If I'm seeing my foot kind of roll in and out like this, then that means I'm not stabilizing, right? If you're not stabilizing, and whatever weight you're at might be too much. Now, there's times where things just get a little wonky, and that might just be a bad rep. We just chalk that up to a quick mistake, refocus and fix it, or go down and wait. All right, whatever you got to do to accomplish stability is very important. Otherwise, you're not going to progress for much longer, and you're potentially going to get hurt in the process. Another thing that I want to talk about, every movement has a place of tension and multiple places of tension that you really want to be focused on. And today, that movement, because we're going into knee flexion, should be focused on the quads. Because we're going into hip flexion, should be focused on the glutes. And then because we're trying to maintain this torso position, we always want to maintain a core position. So core is where I'm going to cue first when I get set up into this top position here. So first thing I'm going to think about is just bracing my core. Then I'm going to go into, okay, I want to make sure that my glutes engaged. And then I'll be like, okay, my quad's engaged at the top here. Now as I come into it, obviously the quad has to kind of pull out, like it has to lengthen here, but I don't want to just give it up, right? I want to control that, right? So I don't just like drop into it. I'm controlling into it, right, the whole time. And that will be your focus on tension. All right, so review it really quick. We got the angle of the torso being the same as the back leg. Then you've got the angle of the knees on both sides being equal. You have the stability of the foot and of the knee. Then you guys will have, which with this tension thing, you'll also get some other things. So tension in the glutes, core, and quads will make sure that your pelvis is stable as well. And those are kind of like the main points here. Now, as far as like testing this for max ability and what success looks like, We want to be able to use a height that our knee can touch the ground just for the sake of hitting consistent reps on both sides during testing. This is not dramatically needed during just like day-to-day practice, but during testing, just to make it the same on both sides, we want to make sure that the knee is touching the ground. So this height, if you look at this, for me, I set up in the bottom position first, and if my knee can't touch the ground, then I can't go full range of motion here. It's impossible, and it's impossible to tell if I'm being even on both sides. My knee barely touches the ground, and honestly, it's because I can put my foot off of this a little bit more, but if my ankle was truly on it like it's going to be, I'm actually off the ground. So I would have to set this down just one lower for when I actually do the test. And here's what success looks like. You should be able to do, if you're a normal person, 20 full range of motion reps back to back to back to back, without stopping, right, to that full range of motion and maintaining all those points of performance, and then you're good to go. That means your hips are probably healthy, you're good, there's no equipment needed, you don't need to be a monster of any sort to do that. That's just what general health, I believe, should be done, and it gives us a measurable point to focus on. It gives us a goal to attain, right? Then if you're trying to be an athlete, lifting lots of loads, deadlift, power lift, whatever, it doesn't matter, clean, split jerk, this will actually affect your split jerk significantly. Any of those movements, you should probably be able to do 10 consecutive reps at half of your body weight in the front rack position to the full range of motion on both sides, right, without stopping. You can rest between sides, but you can't rest inside of that 10 reps, all right? So that would be what success looks like. And why do we want to know what success looks like? Because if you don't define that, then you're not going to have anything to reach for. But I guarantee you, if you can hit 50% of your body weight in the front rack position for 10 consecutive reps, you're probably going to be able to squat some serious weight. You're probably going to be able to move it relatively fluidly, all right? And you're going to become a pro and a jacked panther in the shit that we've been trying to do this whole time. So make sure that you guys do this right. Most of your weight, I forgot to mention this, most of your weight needs to be in the front foot, right? If you're focusing weight back, then obviously we're not getting the point of this. It needs to be in that front foot for the strength version of this, because we're working on single leg strength. I've had great athletes get sick and have to go to the bathroom because of this. And then I'm talking about collegiate, D1, college, a soccer player, had to go to the bathroom because of this movement. All right, now, so if done properly, you get an extraordinary metabolic demand from it. You also get an enormous amount of fitness just in the leg itself. And honestly, as terrible as it is one of the best things that you could do for your health because of the mobility that it gives you as well. All right, great mobility, great strength, not as much disastrous things happening. Now, obviously, I don't want you to puke for this, just saying there's a high metabolic demand. Right, so that's how we do the movement. That's what success looks like. If you guys have questions, make sure you leave them. But make sure when you do this movement, you're focused on all those points.